Scout Officer Ray gripped his control panel as warning lights flashed across the ship's dashboard. The small scout vessel shuddered violently, fighting against the sudden solar storm that had caught him off guard. His purple skin glistened with sweat as he tried to stabilize the failing systems. Warning: critical system failure. Navigation compromised. Artificial gravity failing, the ship's computer announced in its emotionless voice. Ray's four-fingered hands moved quickly across the controls. As one of the strongest species in the Galactic Federation, his people were known for their natural strength and resistance to extreme conditions. But right now, none of that mattered. His ship was dying, and he was heading straight toward an unknown planet. "Computer, identify the planet," Ray commanded, his deep voice steady despite the situation. "Error. Database corrupted. Location data unavailable. Warning. Entry trajectory critical." The ship's hull groaned as it hit the planet's atmosphere. Through the viewport, Ray could see the metal starting to glow red from the heat of entry. His military training kicked in. If he couldn't prevent the crash, he needed to survive it. "Computer, engage emergency landing protocols." Emergency protocols engage. Warning: success probability below 40%. Ray watched as the ground rushed up to meet him. Through breaks in the clouds, he could see vast green forests stretching out below. The ship's sensors were picking up signs of civilization, but they were too damaged to give him clear readings. The trees were getting closer now. Ray activated his crash harness, the metal restraints wrapping around his muscular frame. His species was built to survive extreme conditions. Their bones were 3 times stronger than most races, and their skin could resist temperatures that would kill softer species. He would survive this. He had to. Brace for impact in 10, 9, 8. Ray took a deep breath. This was not how he had planned to end his scouting mission. 7, 6, 5. He thought about his training. If he survived, first priority would be to hide his ship. Second would be to assess the local life forms without revealing himself. 4, 3. The trees were right there now. He could see individual branches. 2, 1. The ship smashed through the forest canopy. Branches exploded against the hull. Ray felt the impact shake every bone in his body. The crash harness strained against his chest as the ship carved a deep trench through the earth. Metal screamed. Dirt flew. Trees snapped like twigs. When the ship finally stopped moving, Ray hung limply in his harness, breathing heavily. His head was spinning, but a quick self-assessment told him nothing was broken. His people's natural durability had saved him from serious injury. "Computer, status report." Only static answered him. Ray hit the harness release and dropped to what used to be the floor of his ship, now tilted at a sharp angle. Emergency lights cast an eerie red glow through the smoke-filled cabin. He made his way to the emergency supplies, grabbing his standard-issue survival pack. The ship's main door was jammed, but Ray's enhanced strength made short work of it. He forced it open with a grunt, and humid earth air rushed in. It smelled different from any planet he'd visited before, rich with organic life. Standing in the doorway, Ray surveyed his surroundings. The ship had cut a long scar through the forest, leaving broken trees and scattered debris in its wake. He needed to hide this mess, and quickly. His sensors might be broken, but he could feel the vibrations in the ground. Something was moving through the forest, heading his way. Ray's shoulders tensed. According to his training, uncharted planets were dangerous. Unknown species could be hostile. He had to be careful. After all, he was stronger than most species in the galaxy, but that didn't mean he was invincible. As the vibrations grew stronger, Ray ducked back inside his ship. He had no way of knowing he had just crash-landed on humanity's homeworld, or that his assumptions about being the strongest species around were about to be thoroughly challenged. Ray heard the footsteps getting closer. His military training told him to stay hidden, but he needed to see what kind of creature was approaching. Carefully, he peered through a crack in his damaged ship's hull. Through the gap, He saw a tall figure moving through the broken trees. It walked on two legs and had a strange outer covering that wasn't part of its body. According to his training, this meant it was probably a primitive species. Advanced races usually had natural armor or enhanced bodies. The creature stopped at the edge of the crash site. It was carrying a simple metal tool in its hands. Ray noticed it had no claws, no natural armor, and looked physically weak compared to his own powerful form. Still, something about how it moved made him cautious. "Hello," the creature called out. "Anyone there? I saw something come down." Ray was surprised. The creature was using complex speech, not just animal sounds. His universal translator was working at least, converting the local language into something he could understand. The creature, which Ray now realized was probably one of this planet's dominant species, walked closer to the ship. It moved carefully but didn't show any fear. This was unusual. Most primitive species would run away from a crashed spaceship. "I'm Tom," the creature called out. "I'm here to help if anyone's hurt." Ray weighed his options. His ship was damaged beyond repair. He needed information about this planet, and this Tom seemed capable of basic communication. Maybe he could learn something useful before his rescue team arrived. Slowly, Ray emerged from the ship. He stood at his full height, nearly 7 feet tall, and let his purple skin shimmer in the sunlight. Usually, this was enough to frighten primitive species. But Tom didn't run. He didn't even step back. He just nodded, as if meeting a purple alien was a normal thing. "You look pretty banged up," Tom said, pointing at a cut on Ray's arm that was leaking blue blood. "I've got a first aid kit in my truck. Want me to take a look at that?" Ray blinked his 3 eyes in confusion. This wasn't how first contact usually went. "You are not afraid?" he asked, his translator converting his words. Tom shrugged. "Should I be? You crashed. You're hurt. Seems pretty straightforward to me." This response didn't make sense to Ray. He had studied hundreds of primitive species, and they all reacted with fear or worship when meeting advanced beings. But this creature was acting like they were equals. "My cabin's about a mile from here," Tom continued, already turning to walk away. "We should move you before someone else comes to check out the crash. Can you walk?" Ray found himself following Tom through the forest. His superior strength made it easy to keep up, but he noticed something interesting. Tom moved through the difficult terrain without any trouble, despite his seemingly weak body. They reached a simple structure made of wood and metal. Ray recognized it as very basic technology, confirming his belief that this was a primitive world. But then Tom did something unexpected. He pulled out a small device and pressed some buttons. "Just letting the local rangers know about a small forest fire," Tom explained. "They'll find some burned trees and think that's what caused all the noise. Should keep people from poking around your crash site." Ray was confused again. This primitive being had just created a clever deception, using both basic and advanced tools. According to everything he knew, this shouldn't be possible. Inside the cabin, Tom started treating Ray's wound with simple medical supplies. "So," Tom said casually, "want to tell me what brought you to Earth?" Ray froze. Something about how Tom said that word, Earth, made his 3 eyes widen. There was a strange gleam in Tom's eyes, like he knew something Ray didn't. For the first time since the crash, Ray felt truly uncertain. Maybe this planet wasn't as primitive as he'd thought. Maybe these creatures, these humans, were more than they appeared to be. Ray sat in Tom's wooden chair, his 3 eyes fixed on the small device in his hands. He had finally managed to repair part of his personal computer, and what he was reading made his purple skin turn pale. Earth. He was on Earth. Every space cadet knew about Earth. It was part of basic training, listed in the top 3 places never to visit. The others were active black holes and plasma storms. The fact that he was sitting in a cabin on the forbidden planet made his hands shake. "Coffee?" Tom asked, holding out a cup of hot black liquid. Ray barely heard him. His mind was racing through everything he'd learned at the academy. Humans were called death worlders for a reason. They had evolved on a planet with crushing gravity, which explained why he felt so heavy. Extreme temperature changes, and thousands of deadly creatures. "You okay there, buddy? You look like you've seen a ghost," Tom said, setting down the coffee cup. Ray looked up at the human. Everything he'd been taught was spinning in his head. According to the Academy, humans were the galaxy's most dangerous species. They could survive injuries that would kill most races. They could run for days without stopping. They could eat almost anything. Some reports even claim they could regrow damaged body parts. This is really Earth?" Ray asked, his voice shaking. Tom smiled. "Yep, good old planet Earth. I'm guessing that's a problem." Before Ray could answer, his computer beeped with more recovered data. He read the warning messages with growing horror. Warning. Earth is under quarantine. Warning. Direct contact with humans is forbidden. Warning. Humans are classified as extreme hazard level species. Warning. If contact is made, do not show fear. Do not engage in physical conflict. I shouldn't be here," Ray whispered. Tom leaned against his kitchen counter, still completely calm. "Because Earth is quarantined." Ray jumped up, his chair falling backward. "You know about the quarantine." "We know a lot of things," Tom said simply. "We just prefer to keep quiet about it." This was impossible. Primitive species didn't keep secrets from the Galactic Federation. They didn't calmly drink coffee with alien visitors. And they definitely didn't know about their own quarantine status. A memory from his academy days flashed through Ray's mind. His instructor stood in front of the class, showing videos of human sports, activities humans did for fun. The video showed them jumping from high places, fighting each other for entertainment, and running impossible distances. But you're supposed to be primitive," Ray said, looking around the cabin with new eyes. "Your buildings are made of wood. Your tools are simple. You don't have proper space travel." Tom laughed. "You're not the first to think that. We find it easier to let the galaxy believe what it wants about us." As if to prove his point, Tom walked over to what looked like a wooden cabinet. He pressed his hand against it, and a hidden panel slid open, revealing a wall of advanced technology. Screens showed the forest around the cabin, including a clear view of Ray's crash site. "We spotted you coming down," Tom explained. "We track everything that enters Earth's atmosphere. Most aliens never notice our satellites. They're designed to look like space junk." Ray sank back into his chair, his legs weak. Everything he thought he knew was wrong. This wasn't a primitive species afraid of advanced visitors. This was something else entirely. "Why?" Ray asked. "Why hide all this?" Tom's friendly smile turned serious. "Sometimes, Officer Ray, the best way to learn about people is to let them underestimate you. The galaxy thinks we're primitive death worlders, too dangerous to contact. That suits us just fine." Ray looked at his computer again, reading the last warning message. Warning. Human technological level. Unknown. Now he understood why that last line was there. It wasn't because humans were too primitive to measure. It was because they had fooled the entire galaxy into thinking they were something they weren't. And Ray had literally crashed right into their secret. The next morning, Ray watched from Tom's porch as 2 more humans arrived in what they called a ranger truck. His 3 eyes widened as he saw them easily lift and move fallen trees from his crash site, using only simple tools and their own strength. "That's Alex and Mike," Tom explained, standing beside him. "They're here to help hide your ship." Ray couldn't believe what he was seeing. The 2 humans were working in the hot sun, carrying loads that should have been too heavy for their seemingly weak bodies. They hadn't even brought any power suits or lifting machines. "How are they doing that?" Ray asked. "Your gravity is crushing. Those trees should be too heavy." Tom smiled. "We're used to it. This is our normal. Want to see something really interesting?" Ray followed Tom down to the crash site. Alex and Mike stopped working and waved casually, as if meeting an alien was an everyday thing. They were covered in sweat, but didn't seem tired. "Show him the trick with the ship," Tom called out. Mike nodded and pulled out a small box from his pocket. He sprinkled some powder from it around Ray's crashed ship. Within minutes, plants started growing at an impossible speed, covering the wreckage in green vines and leaves. "Engineered bacteria," Alex explained, seeing Ray's shocked expression. "They speed up plant growth and break down foreign materials. In a week, your ship will look like it's been here for years." Ray's military training had taught him that humans were dangerous because they were unpredictable and strong. But no one had mentioned this kind of clever thinking. "Why do you hide your abilities?" Ray asked. "The Federation thinks you barely understand basic science." The three humans exchanged knowing looks. "Come with us," Mike said. "There's something you should see." They led Ray through the forest to what looked like an old mine entrance. Tom placed his hand on a rough stone, and suddenly the entire rock face shimmered and disappeared. Behind it was a sleek metal corridor. "Welcome to Station 47," Alex said as they walked inside. One of Earth's many monitoring stations. Ray couldn't process what he was seeing. The corridor opened into a massive room filled with advanced technology. Screens showed views of space, tracking thousands of ships and satellites. But none of this technology matched what he knew about Earth. "This is impossible," Ray whispered. "Your technology level. You're supposed to be centuries behind the Federation." "We find it's better that way," Tom explained, touching a screen that showed Ray's crashed ship. "The Federation leaves us alone because they think we're not worth bothering with. Just some dangerous primitives on a death world." "But why?" Ray asked. "Watch this," Mike said, pulling up a video on one of the screens. It showed humans doing various things: running marathons, diving in deep oceans, climbing frozen mountains, surviving in deserts. "The Federation thinks we do these things because we're primitive and don't know better," Alex explained. "But the truth is, we do them because we can, because we want to. We're explorers, survivors, and inventors by nature." Ray watched the videos with new understanding. What the Federation saw as primitive behavior was actually humans pushing their limits, testing themselves, learning, and growing stronger. "Here's the thing about humans," Tom said, bringing up more images. "We don't need fancy suits to survive extreme conditions. We don't need artificial strength enhancers. We adapted to our death world naturally. And while the Federation watched us climb mountains with ropes and run marathons in the heat," Mike added, "they never noticed us building all of this." He gestured at the advanced room around them. Ray looked at his own purple hands, remembering how proud he'd been of his species' natural strength. But now he understood. Human strength wasn't just in their muscles. It was in their minds, their ability to adapt, and their clever way of hiding in plain sight. "Your rescue team will be here soon," Tom said quietly. "You'll have to decide what to tell them about what you've seen." Ray looked at the humans around him, finally understanding why Earth was really quarantined. It wasn't to protect the galaxy from humans. It was to give humans time to decide when they wanted to reveal their true nature to the stars. The warning alarms in Station 47 started flashing red. Ray stood with Tom and the others, watching as 3 Federation rescue ships appeared on the main screen. "Right on time," Alex said, checking the readings. 3 Guardian-class ships. They're not even trying to hide their approach. Ray felt his stomach sink. Guardian-class ships weren't rescue vessels. They were combat ships designed to handle dangerous species situations. The Federation wasn't coming to save him. They were coming to protect him from the primitive humans. "They'll be looking for your emergency beacon," Mike said, bringing up a map of the area. "Good thing we shut it off yesterday." Tom turned to Ray. "Your choice, friend. We can let them find you, or we can show you how humans handle unwanted visitors." Ray thought about everything he'd seen in the past day. His people had always been proud of their strength, but humans were something else entirely. "Show me," he said. Tom grinned. "Alex, fire up the scramblers. Mike, get the suits ready. We're going ghost hunting." Ray watched in amazement as the humans pulled what looked like simple camping gear from a hidden compartment. The backpacks, boots, and clothes all appeared normal, but when they put them on, something strange happened. The humans became harder to look at, like they were blending into the background. "Adaptive camouflage," Tom explained, handing Ray a similar suit. "Works better than the fancy invisible shields your ships use. Sometimes, the old ways are the best ways." The main screen beeped as the Federation ships entered Earth's atmosphere. "They're starting their search pattern," Alex reported. "Just like we predicted." Ray put on the suit Tom gave him, feeling the strange material adjust to his purple skin. "Won't they detect your technology?" he asked. Mike laughed. "That's the beautiful thing. They're looking for advanced technology. We're not using any. These suits are based on how octopuses change their skin color. Pure biology, no electronics." They moved out of the station and back into the forest. Ray was amazed at how quietly the humans moved. Their primitive boots made no sound on the ground. They didn't even break twigs as they walked. The sound of Federation engines filled the air. Ray looked up through the trees to see the ships scanning the area with their advanced sensors. In his earpiece, he could hear the rescue team's communications. "No sign of Officer Ray's beacon," one voice said. "But we're detecting primitive settlements nearby. Preparing containment protocols." Tom touched Ray's shoulder and pointed. Through the trees, Ray could see Federation troops in their powered armor suits marching through the forest. They carried heavy weapons, ready to deal with any dangerous primitive humans they might find. What happened next amazed Ray more than anything he'd seen so far. The humans didn't run. They didn't hide. Instead, they started hunting the Federation troops, using nothing but their primitive tools and perfect knowledge of their death world environment. They began systematically confusing and misdirecting the search teams. Mike used simple rope traps that somehow avoided detection by advanced sensors. Alex created false trails that led the troops in circles. Tom used basic wood and stone tools to create distractions that drew the searchers away from their location. "How?" Ray whispered as he watched another Federation squad march past their hiding spot without seeing them. "How are you doing this?" "Simple," Tom whispered back. "They're relying on their technology. We're relying on our brains." The Federation troops were getting frustrated. Their sensors showed nothing but trees and rocks. Their heat detectors found only local wildlife. Their motion trackers were confused by the constant movement of the forest. "This is why Earth is so dangerous," Alex said quietly. "Not because we're primitive, but because we learn to be deadly without relying on advanced technology." Ray watched as the humans continued to outmaneuver the galaxy's most advanced military force, using nothing but sticks, stones, and clever thinking. For the first time, he truly understood why Earth was quarantined. It wasn't because humans were primitive. It was because they were far more advanced than anyone had imagined. They just showed their advancement in very different ways. The Federation commander's voice boomed through the forest from the hovering ships above. "This is your final warning. Release Officer Ray immediately, or we will be forced to pacify this sector." Ray crouched with Tom and the others behind their camouflaged position, watching Federation troops set up containment fields around the area. His three eyes widened as he saw them preparing terrain sanitizers, weapons designed to clear entire areas of hostile life forms. "They're going to destroy everything," Ray whispered, his voice shaking. Tom remained surprisingly calm. "No, they won't." He pulled out what looked like an old radio from his backpack. "Because it's time to show you why Earth really quarantined itself." Mike grinned. "Want to see something cool, Ray?" He pressed a button on his simple wooden walking stick. Suddenly, the forest around them flickered, and Ray gasped. Hidden bunkers emerged from the ground. What had looked like ordinary trees transformed into advanced sensor towers. The humans' primitive tools shifted and changed, revealing themselves as highly sophisticated weapons disguised as simple objects. "We didn't hide because we were weak," Alex explained, her walking stick expanding into a complex energy rifle. "We hid because we were too strong." The Federation commander's voice came again. "You have 5 minutes to comply. These primitives cannot protect you, Officer Ray." Tom spoke into his radio. "This is Earth Defense Station 47 to all Federation ships. You are in violation of the Voluntary Quarantine Act, signed by your own council 300 years ago." Ray watched in amazement as massive defense platforms rose from under the Earth, their weapons aimed at the Federation ships. The Federation troops on the ground froze as their sensors suddenly came alive with thousands of targets appearing out of nowhere. "Impossible," the Federation commander stuttered. "Earth has no such technology." "Actually," Tom replied calmly, "we have much more. You're looking at tech from 50 years ago. Want to see what we've developed since then?" As if on cue, the sky above them shimmered. Ray's jaw dropped as hundreds of Earth ships appeared, their design unlike anything he'd ever seen. They didn't use standard engines or weapons. They moved in ways that seemed to bend space itself. 300 years ago, Alex explained to Ray, humans realized something. The galaxy feared us because we evolved on a death world. They called us primitive because we didn't follow their normal technological path. "So we made a choice," Mike continued. "We signed the quarantine agreement, pretending it was the Federation's idea. It gave us time to develop on our own path, without interference." The Federation commander's voice had lost its confidence. This is a trick. Earth is a primitive world. Everyone knows this." Tom smiled. "Everyone knows what we wanted them to know. Your Federation builds bigger engines. We learn to step between spaces. You make stronger armor. We learn to avoid being hit at all. You create better weapons. We learn to end conflicts before they begin." Ray finally understood. "The quarantine wasn't a prison," he said slowly. "It was a shield, not to protect the galaxy from you, but to give you space to grow without interference." "Got it in one." Tom nodded. "Now you have a choice. Ray, the Federation believes you need rescue from us primitive humans. What are you going to tell them?" Ray looked at the Federation ships, then at the humans who had helped him. He saw how they had developed their own path, combining natural skill with hidden technology. They hadn't just survived on their death world. They had mastered it in ways the Federation had never imagined. "I need to tell them the truth," Ray said firmly. "You sure?" Tom asked. "The galaxy's comfortable with their view of Earth. Truth can be uncomfortable." Ray stood up, his purple skin catching the sunlight. "The galaxy needs to know. Not because you're dangerous, but because you're different. You found another way to advance, to grow. Maybe we all have something to learn from Earth." Tom nodded slowly and handed Ray a communicator. "Then tell them. Tell them why Earth really chose to stay hidden, and what we've become while they weren't watching." Ray took the communicator, knowing his next words would change the galaxy forever. Ray stood tall as he faced the Federation ships, holding the communicator in his purple hand. Behind him, Earth's hidden fleet hung silently in the sky. Around him, the primitive forest had transformed into a display of advanced technology that made Federation equipment look simple in comparison. "This is Scout Officer Ray," he spoke clearly into the communicator. "And I need every Federation ship to listen carefully to what I'm about to say." The Federation commander's voice came back, uncertain now. "Officer Ray, are you under duress? Blink your third eye twice if the humans are forcing you to speak." "No one is forcing me to do anything," Ray replied. "That's the point. Everything we thought we knew about Earth was wrong. They weren't trapped in quarantine. They chose it." Tom and the others stood quietly beside him as Ray continued. "I've seen things here that change everything we thought we knew. Humans didn't develop like us because they didn't need to. Why build powered armor when you can adapt your own body? Why make visible weapons when you can hide them in plain sight? The Federation ships hovered silently as Ray told them about everything he had seen. He told them about humans' natural strength, their ability to survive in conditions that would kill other species. He explained how they had taken their own path of advancement, developing technology that worked with nature instead of trying to overcome it. The humans didn't fail to advance, Ray said. They advanced differently. While we built bigger ships, they learned to fold space. While we made stronger armor, they learned to avoid being hit. While we developed better weapons, they created ways to end conflicts before they began. Alex stepped forward and pressed a button. Suddenly, holographic displays appeared in the sky, showing human achievements that had been hidden from the galaxy. Space stations tucked into folds of reality. Cities that blended perfectly with their environments. Technology that looked like nature itself. Earth has been watching us, Ray continued, learning about us. Not because they feared us, but because they wanted to understand us. They quarantined themselves not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. The Federation commander's voice came back, softer now. But why reveal this now? Tom took out his own communicator. Because it's time. We've watched long enough. The galaxy is facing challenges it can't solve with traditional technology. Maybe it's time for a different perspective. Mike activated a larger display, showing problems the Federation had been struggling with: dying stars, failing colonies, resource shortages. Then he showed Earth's solutions, ways of working with nature instead of against it. I crashed here by accident, Ray said. But now I understand it wasn't really an accident. The galaxy needs Earth, not because humans are stronger or smarter, but because they're different. They show us there's another way to solve problems. The Federation ships slowly lowered their weapons. On the ground, troops stared in wonder at the technology they had dismissed as primitive just hours ago. So here's what's going to happen, Ray continued, feeling more confident with each word. Earth is lifting its self-imposed quarantine. Not because they have to, but because they choose to. And the Federation will accept this because we finally understand. Earth was never primitive. They were just waiting for us to be ready to understand their way of thinking. Tom smiled and added, "We're offering to share what we've learned, not to replace your technology, but to show you different ways to use it. The galaxy is big enough for many paths of advancement." The Federation commander was silent for a long moment. Then, "The Federation Council will need time to process this." "Take all the time you need," Tom replied. "We've waited 300 years. We can wait a little longer." Ray looked at the humans around him, then back at his own ships. "I request permission to stay on Earth," he said, "as the first Federation ambassador to humanity's true civilization." The commander's reply came quickly this time. "Granted. We have much to learn." Ray smiled as he watched the Federation ships retreat. He turned to Tom and the others, who were already making their advanced technology blend back into the forest. "So," Tom said with a grin, "ready to learn how humans really do things?" Ray looked at the forest around him, seeing it with new eyes. Sometimes the biggest advances didn't look like advances at all. And sometimes the best way forward was to find a completely different path. "Yes," he said, "I'm ready to learn."